I suppose most of us all probably felt at some point in time it was destined to happen, by hook or by crook, that Anthony Davis was going to end up with the Los Angeles Lakers. If it wasn't going to be in an off-season trade, it was going to be next year in free agency or mid-season trade or something. Somehow, some way, Anthony Davis was going to end up with the Lakers. So I don't think it's a surprise that it ultimately happened. And this was a big move. The Lakers gave up a lot in order to bring Anthony Davis in. And I guess now you have to look and just say, was Anthony Davis really worth the price for the Lakers? Does this deal make them championship contenders? Could they win a title with LeBron James and Anthony Davis as their top two guys in the next couple of seasons? It's an interesting question. When you look first at what this team gave up in order to get Anthony Davis, it was a lot. Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart. That's 3 former first-round picks, including 2 guys that were taken in back-to-back years, number 2 damn overall. Then the number 4 pick in this 2019 draft, unprotected first-round picks in 2022 and 2024, a couple of pick swaps tossed in there. That is a lot. And even if the pick swaps are never really actualized or realized, unprotected first rounders in 22 and 24, maybe you assume they're later off in round 1, but damn, that is a lot to give up for one guy. One guy. And a lot of times you look at these big deals where a team gives up a ton to get one guy. There are many instances where it just doesn't really pay off. You give up too much, and what you get in return is not maybe what you fully expected it to be. Now, look, when healthy, when on the floor, Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the National Basketball Association. I don't think anybody doubts the unibrow when it comes to that. You know, he's one of those guys that can do almost everything. He can rebound, he can block shots, he's got athleticism, he can play on the wing, he can play down low, he's a great scorer, an efficient player offensively. Like, you look at him and he's got 7-footer size and he's got a small forwards game in a lot of ways. And you look at him, he's a guy that's still pretty young, entering the peak of his career. Feels like a good natural fit, like a supersized, roided up version of Chris Bosh to play alongside of LeBron James. Not somebody in 80 that's going to always clog the lane, not somebody that's going to slow the offense down. Like, from a fit standpoint, I can see where it makes a lot of sense. And for the Lakers, you were able to still keep Kyle Kuzma, who primarily to me is mostly a scorer. He's not really much of a rebounder. He's not much of a facilitator. He's not a shot blocker. He doesn't provide you a lot outside of the offense so far. If you want to talk about defense, I don't know about all that. But you look at that top 3 and you say LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, you can fucks with that. You could potentially win something with that, and you very well could. Then you go out in free agency and you bring in Danny Green and you retain Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Rajon Rondo and JaVale McGee and da-da-da-da-da. I still look at this team and I wonder, was Anthony Davis really worth the price? Because here's the thing. When you look at Anthony Davis, he's played, over 75 games or 75 games twice in his career? If Anthony Davis is so damn good, how come his Pelicans team's only made the playoffs twice in his 7 seasons? That's not just solely to put the blame on him, but if a dude is that great and he is that special, and it's not like he had 4 other scrubs on the floor with him at all times with the Pelicans, let's be real here, he would have made the playoffs a little bit more, maybe even once in a while made some noise in the damn playoffs. I'm just saying. But you bring this guy in who always seems to have this little injury or that little injury, who's more likely to play 62 games than he is to play 82 games, it gives me a little pause for concern, especially when you're talking about LeBron James, who is getting into his mid-30s now. He's, 34, going to be 35 eventually, coming off of his first real significant injury this past season. He is now reaching the point in time with the number of years that he has played, coming straight out of high school in that 03 draft, the number of years that he played deep into the playoffs, as much of a man beast as LeBron James has always been, Father Time is undefeated, and eventually it's going to start catching up with him. And when it does, it could be a quite precipitous fall from grace compared to what levels you're used to seeing him play at. And especially when you look at LeBron last year, you could tell he was kind of worn down, he was beat up. And even though the numbers tell you one story, the reality is when you watch, you saw a piss poor defensive effort, a guy that was disinterested. You can sit there and say, well, it was due to this or it was due to that. But it's like he went to Los Angeles and he was more interested in the Los Angeles part of it than the being a Laker part of it. I mean, I'm just saying, like, it was clearly obvious last year. And is that really going to get any better now in this upcoming season with LeBron James? Or is he going to have other injury issues? Or is he just going to have some dedication issues, some desire issues? I mean, you look at that first season of LeBron in Los Angeles, and it was a disaster. And a lot of the disaster was created by the news getting out there that this deal between the Lakers and Antonio Davis was possibly going down, and it was Rich Paul and crew trying to play it, and Magic trying to play it, and all this, and it made a fucking disaster. And unfortunately for the Lakers, it made it such a toxic environment where guys like Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball had to go, and Josh Hart had to go no matter what, because they'd already been talked about as part of the deal beforehand, and it just ruined that locker room. You had to go through with the deal, no matter what. When I look at this and I'm saying, how much better is Kyle Kuzma going to really be? And especially now, when you look at the construction of that team, you say, okay, you play LeBron at the 3, you play Kuzma at the 4, you play Davis at the 5. Or if you play Davis at the 4 and LeBron at the 3, then maybe Kuzma's coming off the bench. How much better is Kuzma really going to be as the third option compared to what he is right now? I don't really know that. Anthony Davis, how much can you really count on him and rely upon him? And how much more are you going to get out of LeBron James? Because again, I emphasize, the downturn is going to happen at some point. He might not plummet off of a cliff like Kobe Bryant did due to injury at the tail end of his career, but the days of 27, 28 a game, 8.5 rebounds, 8 assists, aren't going to be here much longer. He just won't physically be able to hold up to it. And I don't know mentally if he's going to be able to hold up to it because he's at the tail end of his career. He knows it. He's in Los Angeles. He's just trying to hang on long enough to be able to play with his son in the NBA someday, and that's about it. When you look at the structure of this team, sure, they look like they could potentially be a contender next year. You've got marquee stars in LeBron and AD. You've got some other nice pieces in the fold. Danny Green coming off of yet another championship one, this time with the Toronto Raptors. Kyle Kuzma's a young, exciting third option type of guy. You've got a guy like Rajon Rondo, who's a team and locker room leader, who's a nice kind of floor general. And you've got other assorted role players mixed in. But that was an awful lot to give up. And if you don't win it in the next year or two, because I really feel like for the Lakers at this point, the way they're currently constructed, that window to win a championship is 2 years. Do you really think that even if you sit there and said, okay, LeBron still got 2 guaranteed years plus his player option in the third year, do you really think that outside of that 2-year window that you could win a championship with LeBron at age 36, 37 as the focal point of the team? That is really, really reaching, just based off of historical evidence of so many other great players and legends that came before him. That shit broke down to the point where they couldn't even play at age 35 or 36. The fact that LeBron does what he does at age 34 is outstanding. But how much longer is he going to be able to hold up? And again, when you talk about Anthony Davis, it always seems like it's something. It's an injury here, it's a little thing here, it's a little thing there. How well is he going to be able to hold up? And especially if you have to sit there and give him a bunch of money and extend him out long term, is this really enough? Is LeBron and Anthony Davis and Kyle Kuzma enough as your top 3 to win an NBA championship? Maybe. But it's got to be in the next 2 years. And it better happen, because if it doesn't, then this whole LeBron James to the Lakers thing has been a fucking fiasco. And the trade for Anthony Davis becomes a debacle.